In his attempt to move away from the liberal globalists and get closer to President Trump, Mark Zuckerberg is making some radical changes to his meta platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, by removing their fact checkers, obviously the censorship mechanisms, but replacing them with community notes after talking to Elon Musk, and a number of other measures as well. But obviously the people who used to call the shots, the liberal globalists, are not too happy about this. So we're going to talk about the reaction from especially the European side, the European Union, the French government, and of course Norway, of all places as well. Even though Norway is not in the European Union, but when it comes to censorship mechanisms, European countries all cooperate, and of course everything goes back to Ursula von der Leyen, the dictator of the European Commission. Now, one thing is completely guaranteed: that the European Union are not doing too well. They know that the whole European project is falling apart, the money is running out, there is no societal unity among the European countries. We've got still the Greeks kicking off about the Germans, we've got the Portuguese kicking off about the Italians, everybody owes everybody. It's not really a good situation. So what they have to do is to blame other people. Blame the right-wingers, blame the populist movements, blame conservatives, blame those who want to bring back sovereignty, democracy, and national identity. Now, obviously, with the rise of people like Trump, Milei, and many others, and you can see also the same thing happening in Europe, even those like Zuckerberg have to play the right game now. They have no choice. Now, in America, Zuckerberg knows if he doesn't bring back free speech to his platforms, he's getting destroyed by X and Elon Musk. That's just one example. But there's so much that's going to happen over the next few years, especially with the rise of AI. Zuckerberg needs Trump on his side. Now, he's losing his old friends. That is the liberal globalists. So the first reaction we had was from the French government. So now France have decided to slam Meta's re-evaluation of fact-checking, calling it a potential threat to democracy under Europe's strict Digital Services Act. This is not even a joke. Free speech is now apparently a threat to democracy. Now, we know they're lying. We know they don't mean democracy. They mean their own control freak mentality that they have. So that's one thing. Now, the French government minister, foreign ministers come out to say that freedom of expression is not a right to virality. I mean, okay, let's have an intellectual conversation about those in power right now, whether you're talking about France, Germany, the United Kingdom especially, very much authoritarian right now. Do they know that they are the bad guys? Do they actually know that they are the baddies? Or do they think they are still self-righteous and so wise? Because sometimes I do think about this. I'm like, okay, some of the stuff they do and say is quite unhinged. They claim to be the defenders of the world order. That's been going on since the 40s, 50s. They claim to be the defenders of the Western liberal democracies. But are they? Because I didn't really mind when a few decades ago you had people who were greedy, who were corrupt, who were taking advantage of our system. That's just one thing. We could deal with that. But it's no longer about greedy people. This isn't really just about corrupt people. These are people with different worldviews and they want to impose it on you. That's the problem. It's not just about a bit of corruption, left, right, and center, a bit of financial greed with the corporations and lobbies. That's how it starts. Now, obviously, you get more ambitious. People like Bill Gates, he's kind of bored. He's got nothing to do. So he becomes a philanthropist. And that goes too far. Then he thinks, well, he's got a God complex. He thinks he should be in charge. And his ideas must be heard. And you have to listen to his ideas. That's just, again, one person. But going back to the main topic, the European governments and EU and non-EU countries all kicking off about this, right? So we got the CEO of Norway's $1.4 trillion wealth fund, that's Nicolai Tangen, who is reportedly pushing Meta to maintain censorship in Europe, leveraging the fund's 1.8% ownership in the company. So this is exactly what they end up doing. Now, they claim to be capitalists. Are they actually? Do they respect free market capitalism? Of course they don't. They are bullies. They are gangsters. White-collar gangsters. This is not capitalism. This is state corporatism. This is globalist corporatism. Corporatism is not free market capitalism. When you're putting the interests of the corporations and people at the top over the normal people and small businesses and individual consumers, you are no longer respecting the values of liberal democracy and free market capitalism. This is bullying. This is oligarchy. So obviously we have to talk about the consequences, because if Zuckerberg continues his best, at least to act, even if he didn't believe it at first, that he wants to get closer to Trump, if the US government backs Meta, and so far they are backing Meta, which is good, they have a good relationship now, then it's important to say that the fight is on.